Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Modi pays homage to martyrs at the Kargil War, of the Kargil War in Dras, and says that Pakistan has not learnt the lessons of history. India will crush terrorism with all its force. Polls show that the Democrats' presumptive nominee Harris is gaining ground. She's willing to debate Trump. Republicans say that the debate can only take place after Democrats formally decide on their nominee. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar meets his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Laos, tells him that China must ensure full respect for the LAC and past agreements, and also should complete the disengagement process. And the stage is set for a unique opening ceremony on the River Seine in Paris as the world gets ready to compete for Olympic gold. India observes the 25th anniversary of the Kargil Vijay Diwas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday paid homage to the Kargil War martyrs. The Prime Minister laid a floral wreath at the Dras War Memorial to pay tributes to officers and soldiers of the armed forces who made the supreme sacrifice in the service of the nation. The Prime Minister also witnessed the first blast of the Shinkun La Tunnel project. The Shinkun La Tunnel project consists of a 4.1 kilometer long twin tube tunnel which will be constructed at an altitude of around 15,800 feet on the Nimmu-Padum-Dacha road, and it will provide all-weather connectivity to Leh. Once completed, it will be the highest tunnel in the world. The Shinkun La Tunnel will not only ensure swift and efficient movement of the Indian armed forces and equipment, but also foster economic and social development in Ladakh. The Shinkun La Tunnel in the Union Territory of Ladakh in the Himalayas would be ready in 4 years. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually carried out the first blast in Kargil, and this all-weather tunnel has a strategic importance. DD India correspondent spoke exclusively to the Director General of the Border Roads Organization on the project.
The tunnel is 4.1 kilometers long. I would like to take just a minute about that. It connects the Himachal Pradesh that is the Lahaul Spiti Valley. It connects it to the Zanskar Valley. Between that, we have a mountain range where there is one pass which is Shinkun La. The connectivity which we have established between Nimmu, Padam and Darcha, which we were able to establish in March this year, it will not be an all-weather connectivity. So therefore, the requirement of a tunnel. And like I said, we expect to be able to complete this in 4 years' time.
On the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the Kargil Vijay Diwas, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid floral tribute to the brave hearts who made the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. During his speech at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras, Prime Minister Modi warned Pakistan, stating that the Indian soldiers will crush terrorism with full force and that the enemy will receive a befitting reply. This message was sent clearly. It was a clear warning to Pakistan not to resort to nefarious designs to foment violence in India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi from Kargil warned the neighboring country Pakistan that its evil intentions would never succeed in India. He asserted that Indian soldiers would defeat Pakistan's strategy of fomenting terrorism and infiltrating borders.
पाकिस्तान ने अतीत में जितने भी दुष्प्रयास किए उसे मुंह की खानी पड़ी है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान ने अपने इतिहास से कुछ नहीं सीखा है। वो आतंकवाद के सहारे, प्रॉक्सी वॉर के सहारे अपने आप को प्रासंगिक बनाए रखने का प्रयास कर रहा है। लेकिन आज जब मैं उस जगह से बोल रहा हूं जहां आतंक के आकाओं को मेरी आवाज सीधे सुनाई पड़ रही है, मैं आतंकवाद के इन सरपरस्तों को कहना चाहता हूं कि उनके नापाक मंसूबे कभी कामयाब नहीं होंगे।
Prime Minister Modi also said that India is undergoing major reforms in all sectors, including its defense forces. He said that indigenous equipments are being given to the armed forces to reduce the dependence on any other country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on this occasion also clarified doubts raised by the opposition parties about the Agnipath scheme. He said that the scheme aimed to smoothen the process of taking young people into the army at an early age. The scheme is not at all related to escaping a pension.
अग्निपथ का लक्ष्य सेनाओं को युवा बनाना है। अग्निपथ का लक्ष्य सेनाओं को युद्ध के लिए निरंतर योग्य बनाए रखना है। दुर्भाग्य से राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा से जुड़े इतने संवेदनशील विषय को कुछ लोगों ने राजनीति का विषय बना दिया है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi cautioned the opposition parties not to politicize the country's defense issues. He said the Kargil victory was a victory of the nation and not of any political party. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
And DD India's Vishal Barrister now joins us from Kargil with more. Vishal, you've spoken to families of the Kargil heroes. Put into context the occasion for them. Vishal, can you hear me?
Yes, Mark, very good afternoon to you. Yes, today has been a historic day, and it was quite a different emotion here because there were many who were very proud of what their heroes did. Some of them, they lost their fathers, some of them, they lost their husbands, some of them, they lost their brothers. But it was a proud moment for them. Yes, the eyes were wet, and they were all saying that it would have been nice had they been here with us. Because it's a great victory. In fact, it is called mother of all battles when we talk about Kargil. And I would like to ask my cameraman to show you. Now, these are the peaks. And beyond these peaks is Pakistan. And from there, Indian Army and Indian Air Force defeated the nefarious designs of the enemy from across the line of control. It was a great battle. And it was fourth in line by Pakistan, fourth attempt after the big defeat in 71, Pakistan tried it again. Of course, India was trying to, move ahead with the friendship issue. The then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee wanted Pakistan and India to come closer, but it was not to be. Mark?
Right. Vishal, also Prime Minister sent out a strong message to the adversary, as you were saying, that India will wipe out terrorism. Put that message into context for us.
Well, absolutely, Mark. This was quite a historic moment, and right now I'm here at the Kargil War Memorial, which is in Dras. It has been the witness of that historic war, and today was the day when the Prime Minister had to address the Indian Armed Forces and also send a strong message across the border. And he made it very clear that when I'm talking to you, the enemy is listening me loud and clear, and let me tell you that India is not going to take any nonsense. Indian armed forces are always ready to take on any challenge. And he also accused Pakistan of this proxy war, of encouraging state-sponsored terrorism. Of course, we all know what Pakistan has been doing in all these years. So it was a very, very strong message that was sent across the border. And today was the day, and it couldn't have been a better day than this, Mark.
Well, finally, Vishal, tell us about the strategic importance of the Shinkun La tunnel that is going to be built.
Well, surely, Shinkun La. La means the pass. Shinkun La it would be the highest tunnel in the Himalayas. In fact, it is already been touted as the highest tunnel in the world, and it would be a 4.1 kilometer tunnel. It would take 4 years to complete it in 4 stages. It would be an all-weather tunnel which would provide accessibility not only to the civilians but also to our Indian armed forces. Remember, we are talking about the line of control, and it is not only Pakistan. We also know that China is also there with Pakistan. So it has got a lot, much strategic importance. Last time it was the Sela tunnel, and this time it is this tunnel. So it is these tunnels and the roads, they provide accessibility, so quick transportation, all-round weather transportation, because winters gets quite worse. Yeah, there are heavy snowfalls, and we are already at 11,000 feet high. So you can well imagine how difficult it would be in winters. Mark?
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Vishal Barristow, for joining us from Dras with that update. Now, the country is celebrating the silver jubilee of the Kargil Vijay Diwas, and during the coverage of this war, Doordarshan not only stood on the line of fire, they basically covered the war, but also demolished Pakistan's propaganda by presenting the Indian side of the story strongly with evidence to support it. More in this report.
When we look back at the Kargil operation after 25 years, we can easily see that the conflict was first of all a reflection of the highest standards of the Indian Army, especially in a mountain warfare. The Kargil operation had once again proved that Indian soldiers can rise to any occasion against all odds. In June 1999, this operation also showed how Pakistan's psychological offensives had failed in the face of Indian Army's quick and daring counterattacks in what turned out to be an interdiction warfare instead of a regular all-out maneuver war. When Pakistan carried out a simultaneous media campaign about its so-called advantage from the mountain heights, Doordarshan News filed the first exclusive visual dispatches from the direct line of enemy fire and exposed Pakistani maneuvers to the world. Doordarshan News was the first to show features like the Tiger Hill, Peak of Tololing and Point 5410 along with trajectories of artillery fire from across enemy lines.
When the operation started, so the world press got to know about it, everybody got to know about it, and the Pakistani launched a psychological offensive like it happened in 1962. And so the nation was under some kind of a pressure. The political establishment ought to be under pressure then. And that is the kind of advantage that the Pakistanis thought they would get away with. We started filming in the direct line of enemy fire. So what came out of that? What came out of that was that it was proved visually with television evidence that it was interdiction warfare. It was not maneuver warfare. Actually, to reach Tiger Hill, the peak of Tiger Hill, one would have to cross so many hills, hills, and then the peak. So we explained why, despite the advantage of aerial dominance, we would physically, the Indian Army would have to, the infantry, with artillery support, with air support, would have to physically go up and capture the peak and hoist the tricolor. And that's when the all-round military ability of the Indian soldier counts.
This also brought the first televised evidence that the Indian forces were actually inching forward in what had to be time-consuming interdiction operation to save human lives in Kargil sector. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, both houses of the Indian Parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, reconvened on day 5 of the budget session of Parliament. They paid tributes to the Kargil war heroes as India marks the 25th anniversary. Members of Parliament observed silence for the soldiers who made the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty in the 1999 Kargil war. Meanwhile, the discussion on the Union Budget 2024-25 continued in both the Houses of Parliament. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. NSA Ajit Doval is leading the Indian delegation to the BIMSTEC Security Chiefs meeting in Naypyidaw, Myanmar. We'll get you an update on the ongoing UNESCO World Heritage Summit in Delhi. And heavy rains lash Mumbai and Delhi as monsoon fury hits the big cities.
We simply throw things away when we're done using them, be it a cup, an old shirt, or a used battery. But we can do a lot better. Let's find out how.
I thought I can get a bunch of people together and we can just create this beautiful product while not being wasteful, while paying people correctly, while not throwing things into the garbage can.
Our goal is to recover 95% of our nickel, which is the most expensive, most valuable ore, including aluminum and copper, of course.
We are successfully managing waste in this small town with a limited number of people, resources, and market. If we can do that here, it would definitely be possible in larger towns that have many advantages over us.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar participated in the ASEAN-India Foreign Ministers meeting in Vientiane in Laos on Friday. Speaking at the opening session of the ASEAN-India Foreign Ministers meeting, Minister Jaishankar said that the Association of Southeast Asian Nations is the cornerstone of India's Act East policy and its Indo-Pacific vision. He added that the political, economic and security cooperation with ASEAN is India's top priority.
The priority that India attaches to ASEAN and AS platforms is evident from Prime Minister Modi visiting Jakarta last year on the very eve of our own G20 summit. He had announced a 12-point plan that has been largely acted upon. For India, ASEAN is the cornerstone of its Act East policy and the Indo-Pacific vision that was thereafter built on it. For us, political, economic and security cooperation with ASEAN is of the utmost priority.
The minister also spoke about the situation in Myanmar, keeping the sea lines of communication open and free, Quad's outlook on ASEAN and AOIP, and the conflict in Gaza as well. Well, Dr. Jaishankar also held bilateral meetings with his counterparts on the sidelines of the ASEAN-related foreign ministers meeting. On Thursday, Dr. Jaishankar met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi and held talks on finding an early resolution to the remaining issues along the line of actual control to stabilize and rebuild bilateral relations. Both the leaders also agreed on the need to work with purpose and urgency to achieve complete disengagement at the earliest. Jaishankar emphasized the need to ensure full respect for the line of actual control and past agreements to stabilize the bilateral ties. He stressed on the importance of three mutuals: mutual respect, mutual interest and mutual sensitivity to the bilateral ties. India and China will hold an early meeting on the working mechanism on consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs to take the discussions forward. And Amritpal Singh has been following that story closely. He joins us now from the newsroom. Amrit, the EAM has said that ASEAN is the cornerstone of India's Act East policy. Fill us in with the why of that statement.
Well, the Southeast Asia and the ASEAN countries or the EAS is very important from India because it's part of, as the EM said, of India's Act East policy and the vision it has for Indo-Pacific. These countries are important from the point of view of trade, of security, of free and fair Indo-Pacific. Important sea lanes pass through this region. Securing the region, the cooperation of these countries, building on each other's leverages to build infrastructure. India leads the global South agenda. So from all those aspects, this region is very, very important. Also, India has security concerns in the region because be it if there is instability, say in Myanmar, political instability, it directly affects. There is an influx of refugees, influx of even armed militants here, and that has a direct impact on India's northeast. So therefore, India would want to build linkages with these, whether they are through road connectivity, through the trilateral highway, through sea lanes, through trade, through taking positions, united positions at global fora. So therefore, it is very, very important. That's what the crux of the message of the External Affairs Minister was at the ASEAN meeting. Mark?
Yes, also Amrit, Jaishankar has posted on X regarding China. He says that the state of the border will necessarily be reflected on the state of our ties. To what extent was this issue discussed at the meeting that they had?
Well, it was a straight talking done by Dr. Jaishankar to Wang Yi, who in the past has been his counterpart as well, and is an important member of the Communist Party of China. The message was twofold. One, he said in our earlier meetings, we've discussed the need as the two most populous countries of the world, two important economies, to collaborate. Our interests converge. He said that we've discussed this in the past, and the challenge is to actually affect it. When he said that the state on our borders, the state of affairs on our borders would reflect in the relations, he was essentially trying to send a message to China that, look, we are ready to cooperate with you. We ourselves are a very big market. Our growing economies as Asian markets, our interests coincide as countries of the global south on issues of securing the region, taking united stands at the global fora, including the United Nations. There is a lot of convergence, but this can only move forward if there is peace and tranquility at the border, and we resolve our issues in a manner that is peaceful. And then he left it at that, saying that I hope our meeting we'd be able to give further guidance to our officials, therefore pointing to the Chinese that India is looking at early resolution of the dispute between India and China that's currently on, because armies are sitting right eyeball to eyeball, and therefore the urgent need to diffuse the crisis, resolve this issue and move forward to build on the convergences rather than keep harping on the divergences, while saying that unless we proceed on this, the other part of the relationship cannot proceed. Mark.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Amritpal Singh, our correspondent, joining us from the newsroom. Now, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval delivered New Delhi's national statement at the meeting of the Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation on Friday. Doval is leading the Indian delegation at the 4th annual BIMSTEC meeting, which is being held in Naypyidaw. He spoke on strengthening cooperation in counterterrorism, in combating drug trafficking, in arms smuggling and organized crime. BIMSTEC, connectivity, holding the second ports conclave, and water security of the Himalayan river systems. He's spoken about that too. Doval met with the NSA Admiral Mo Ong on Thursday and BIMSTEC security chiefs, fostering bilateral ties with the counterpart. The World Heritage Committee has announced the inclusion of moidams, the mound burial system of the Ahom dynasty of Assam, India, as the 43rd World Heritage Site from India. Moidams is the first cultural heritage site and the third overall site from the northeast of India to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. The two others are Kaziranga as well as Manas, which were inscribed Under the Natural Heritage category, the Minister of Culture and Tourism held a press briefing. Let's listen to what he said.
आज ये जो साइट हमारी इंस्क्राइब हुई है, ये पूर्वोत्तर भारत के लिए निश्चित रूप से एक बड़ी सफलता और आसाम के लिए भी एक बहुत बड़ा दिन है। इस साइट के विश्व धरोहर सूची में सम्मिलित होने से न केवल असम में, यदि मैं कहूँ पूरे भारत भर में आने वाले समय में आने वाले पर्यटकों की संख्या में, उन स्थानों को देखने जाने वाले पर्यटकों की संख्या में निश्चित ही जो है एक बहुत बड़ा उछाल आने की अपेक्षा हम सब लोग करते हैं।
Well, on the sidelines of the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee being held in New Delhi, India and the United States have signed a significant bilateral agreement to prevent illegal trafficking of cultural properties. Now, this agreement will help both the countries to combat the trafficking of cultural artifacts and also help repatriation of important artifacts of India from the United States. The agreement was signed by the Secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Govind Mohan, and the US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti. Let's take a look now at other stories from across India. The Indian filmmaker Shekhar Kapoor has been appointed as the 55th International Film Festival's director. Known for his masterful storytelling and visionary direction, Kapoor's involvement promises to transform the 55th edition of IFFI into a cinematic extravaganza like never before. Two wagons of a goods train derailed near India's Bhubaneswar railway station in Odisha on Friday. According to officials, no injuries were reported. The restoration work is underway. The Indian Coast Guard helicopter successfully evacuated 14 Indian crew from the grounded bulk carrier JSW Raigad near Alibag in Mumbai. The vessel anchored off the coast experienced anchor dragging, loss of control and engine room flooding. The entire sea conditions, all crew members were safely lifted and disembarked at Alibag beach. The ICG is coordinating, that's the Indian Coast Guard, is coordinating with the local authorities for further medical aid and other support. Incessant rain over the last 24 hours wreaked havoc in several parts of the western Indian state of Maharashtra. The India Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for Pune, for Mumbai, Palghar, Thane and Raigad. Considering the warning issued, all schools and colleges falling under the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation area have been declared a holiday for Friday. Additionally, the BMC has also requested all citizens to avoid stepping out if not necessary, and also has asked them to cooperate. In view of the heavy rains, teams of the NDRF and SDRF have been deployed. The Army too is there, and their airlifting teams have also been put into service. Well, Shama Mishra is giving us more updates. So, Shama, it's been raining incessantly in Mumbai. Give us more details. What's the latest that you have?
Well, Mark, as it was expected that Mumbai and the adjoining areas and many of the districts of Maharashtra will receive more rain, but today the rain gods have had some mercy on us and we are seeing that the rains have stopped since morning, even in Mumbai and also in Pune areas. So the situation is now much better and everything is back on track, which was yesterday affected. And if you had seen the visuals where there was water on the tracks of the railways and also waterlogging issues, everything has been restored. There are no more traffic diversions, no more delays in suburban rail services. So everything is back on track in Mumbai, and yes, we are hoping that we would see the sun soon over here. And if you remember that, in 2005, it was the same day, 26 July, when Mumbai had seen a situation where, the cloud burst and the incessant rain, which had thrown life out of gear, but today it is not that. And even the Indian Meteorological Department has said that it will not be raining like that. Also, the red alert that you were talking about, it has now been pulled down, and Mumbai, Pune, all these areas are on orange alert. That means there is a very high chance that very heavy rainfall is expected in these areas, but thankfully we are not witnessed it. However, Satara, Raigad, Ratnagiri, these three districts have been put on red alert, and many of the rivers, including the Kundalika, Patalganga, these rivers are flowing above their danger mark, and the people living in the river areas in and around, they have been taken to areas which is safer, and so as to avoid any untoward incident. In all of this, there is a good news that the lakes that supply water to Mumbai and the adjoining areas are now full to its capacity. Many of the lakes are now full to its capacity, and the Mumbai.
Right, Sharma, thank you very much for joining us with that update. And still to come here on DD India News Hour, the White House says that they are close to a Gaza ceasefire deal, and this is after Netanyahu meets Biden as well as Harris in separate meetings. Russia launches overnight drone attack on Ukrainian power facilities. And OpenAI takes on Google with new search engine called Search GPT.
As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India, 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. India's Prime Minister Modi pays homage to martyrs of the Kargil war in Dras. Says that Pakistan has not learnt the lessons of history. India will crush terrorism with all its force. Polls show Democrats' presumptive nominee Harris is gaining ground. She's willing to debate Trump. The Republicans say that that debate can only take place after Democrats formally decide on their nominee. The External Affairs Minister Jaishankar meets his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Laos. Tells China it's a must to ensure full respect for the LAC and past agreements and to complete the disengagement process. The US President Joe Biden met the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. This is the first meeting in Washington during Biden's presidency. They discussed the ceasefire deal with Hamas, which, although proposed weeks ago, has not been agreed upon, and the release of a dozen of hostages still being held by Hamas. It all comes a day after Netanyahu's controversial address to Congress, which saw thousands of protests on the streets outside the US Capitol. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Multiple meetings for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here in Washington, the first with President Joe Biden. The two men have known each other for about 40 years, something that Netanyahu reflected on during their Oval Office meeting, saying that Biden had also known every Israeli Prime Minister for the last 50 years. However, they discussed weightier issues in their private meeting, including that ceasefire deal. It was proposed a couple of months ago, but has still not come to fruition. And that includes the release of hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Of course, we've seen something of a rift grow between the two leaders in the last 9 months since this conflict began. Biden has been pushing harder against Netanyahu for Israel to reduce its military offensive, to try and ensure that civilians are not caught up in the crossfire. But we have seen that death toll mount. Now, with Biden unfettered by the need to mount a re-election campaign and knowing that he only has another 6 months in office, there is some thinking that he will be pushing much harder now to try and stop the conflict, but also make sure that Israel reduces what it's doing there. It's offensive, it's military hardware, the large-scale bombs that it's using in largely populated, densely populated civilian areas. Also here in Washington, the Prime Minister met with Kamala Harris, the Vice President, but also the presumptive Democratic Party nominee. She has said in the past that she would continue that US commitment of support to Israel, including military assistance. But there is speculation that if she becomes president, she will push harder on the humanitarian side of things to ensure that Palestinian civilians are helped by Israel rather than being caught up in the conflict.
I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. And I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal.
On Friday, the Prime Minister heads to Florida to meet with Donald Trump, someone that he knows from Donald Trump's past presidency. Indeed, the last time that Netanyahu was here in the United States was during the Trump administration about 4 years ago. Those two men have something of a closer bond than we've seen between Biden and Netanyahu. Netanyahu, I guess, hedging his bets during the course of this trip, meeting with the two people, Harris and Trump, one of which will become the president after November's election. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with relatives of hostages held by Hamas. Now, at that meeting, following his address to the U.S. Congress, Netanyahu said that the families of hostages praying, yearning to see their loved ones brought home. And during his trip to Washington, D.C., he was joined by the U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson. The White House has said that they are close. They are close to a Gaza ceasefire deal. In a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the U.S. President Joe Biden has expressed the need to close the remaining gaps and finalize the Gaza deal as soon as possible.
There are gaps that remain, and our team continues to work with our counterparts in the region to see if we can't close those gaps. We believe that they are of a nature where they can be closed and that we can achieve a deal. But it's going to require, as it always does, some leadership, some compromise, and an effort to get there. The President will be reaffirming for Prime Minister Netanyahu that he believes we need to get there and that we need to get there soon.
The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris begins her campaign trail, and after replacing President Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential nominee, presumptive that is, her first video advertisement was released on Thursday, framing the campaign as a battle to protect Americans, their individual liberties. The U.S. Vice President rallied the American Federation of Teachers on Friday during its 88th National Convention in Houston. While addressing the officials there, Kamala Harris focused on economic policy and workers' rights, touting plans for affordable health care and child care.
Donald Trump and his extreme allies want to take our nation back to failed trickle-down economic policies, back to union busting, back to tax breaks for billionaires. Donald Trump and his allies want to cut Medicare and Social Security, to stop student loan forgiveness for teachers and other public servants. And I say to AFT, they even want to eliminate the Department of Education.
Kamala Harris also said that she was ready to debate the Republican presidential candidate, Donald Trump. Responding to questions by reporters at the joint base Andrews, Harris reiterated her commitment to the previously agreed debate on the 10th of September and said that it appeared that Trump was backpedaling out of that meeting.
So many of you have been asking me about the debate, and I'll tell you, I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, Russia overnight launched a drone attack on Ukrainian power facilities in 2 regions on Thursday. According to the national grid operator, the attacks have led to power outage. However, supplies have been restored to most consumers in the northern Chernihiv and Zhytomyr regions. Ukraine energy sector has been hit recently by Moscow's radar. And in fact, this has also made Kiev start large-scale electricity imports from European Union. Romania too has said that it's found Russian drone fragments near the Danube and Ukraine border after overnight Russian attacks against Ukrainian infrastructure on Thursday. NATO said that it saw no sign of an intentional attack on the alliance's territory after Moscow's troops fired 38 long-range drones into Ukraine. Russia, in its counter-offensive against Ukraine recently, has been targeting Ukrainian fuel, arms depots and power grids. The attacks came as Dmitry Peskov, the press secretary of the Russian president, on Thursday said that Russia was open to negotiations with Ukraine, but the country needs to know how ready Ukraine is for negotiations first. Let's connect with Dasha Chernyshova from Moscow for more on these stories. Well, Dasha, what is the Russian military's position on targeting power installations in Ukraine?
Well, traditionally, the Russian authorities have said that attacks against the energy facilities of Ukraine are part of the demilitarization process, because Russia insists it is targeting the military-industrial complex of Ukraine as well as the energy facilities that are all used for the military purposes by Kyiv. At the same time, we have repeatedly heard from the Russian authorities over the course of the past 2 years that attacks against the energy facilities come in response to Ukraine's strikes against the Russian border regions, as well as the locations inside the Russian territory. So we're yet to hear for the Russian Ministry of Defense comments on that, but it is largely seen as part of Russia's ongoing special military operation.
Also, Dasha, the European Union's foreign policy chief has blamed Russia for a disinformation campaign. He was speaking at the ASEAN meeting in Laos. Has Russia responded to such accusations in the past as well?
Well, for Moscow, everything that comes from the EU is hostile, because Moscow believes it is very difficult at the moment to convey Russia's position to any of the Western country because of one reason: they are very Russophobic, and everything that comes from Russia does seem to be received with hostility in the West and the European Union as well as in the United States. But at the same time, we also have heard that the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who is part of those talks in Laos, he has said very clearly that Russia's cooperation with ASEAN is growing, especially in the area of security. Over the past 3 decades, it has only become stronger. And he also has stressed in one of the meetings that he has held with his counterparts from other countries, for instance from China, that these two countries should be jointly counteracting the interference of outside forces into the affairs of the region. So very clearly in Russia there is an understanding that everything that is Russian is received with hostility in the West, but at the same time Russia's position is valued in the countries of the global South.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Dasha Chernyshova from Moscow with that update. Let's take a look now at other stories making news around the world. According to a government notification, Sri Lanka is set to hold the next presidential elections on the 21st of September. The last date for submitting nominations is the 15th of August. The incumbent president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, took the office after Gotabaya Rajapaksa's resignation in 2022. New York's Frank Shiner Theatre provides theatregoers a separate experience of watching a theatre not with their eyes, but with their senses. A charity event in London witnessed thousands of rubber ducks racing to the finish line in the city central. The rubber ducks were propelled by staff members all the way to 100 meters stretch line in the finish line. The OpenAI has come forward with a new challenge for Google. The artificial intelligence pioneer on Thursday announced the launch of Search GPT. It also places the AI company in competition with the largest backer of Microsoft's Bing search and also emerging services. However, the new search engine is only being tested with a small group of users and publishers as of now.
OpenAI is taking on Google with a new search engine. The artificial intelligence pioneer on Thursday announced the launch of Search GPT. It's a prototype AI search engine and is only being tested with a small group of users and publishers. The best features from the search tool will later be incorporated into the ChatGPT chatbot. OpenAI says the product will provide summarized search results with links to source material. It's potentially a big threat to Alphabet-owned Google, which dominates the global search market. In June, it had a market share of over 91%. Alphabet shares closed 3% lower following the news. But the move could also put OpenAI on collision course with its own big backer, Microsoft, which operates the Bing search engine. The Windows maker has already adopted OpenAI tech for use by Bing. Meanwhile, Google recently rolled out AI-powered summaries. Another rival is the startup Perplexity, a search-focused chatbot backed by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and AI chip champion NVIDIA.
Still to come here on DD India News Hour. The stage is set for the Paris Summer Games. 10,500 athletes from around the world come together for the biggest sporting extravaganza. Paris 2024 Games, it pledges to be the most eco-friendly yet.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and now it's time for all the sports news. And for that, we have with us Deepika Mehta. Over to you, Deepika.
Thanks and good afternoon. First, let's quickly tell you what's happening in the world of cricket, and then we'll talk about the opening ceremony of Olympics. Well, first up from cricket, India are currently taking on Bangladesh in the first semi-final of Women's Asia Cup 2024. The match is currently underway at Dambulla in Sri Lanka. Bangladesh have won the toss and elected to bat first. Renuka Thakur jolted Bangladesh with an early burst of 3 power play wickets for India to put them on back foot. Defending champions India dominated the group stage, defeating Pakistan, Nepal and UAE with ease. India is leading the head-to-head T20I record against Bangladesh with 19 victories out of 22 matches since 2013. Meanwhile, in the second semi-final, Pakistan will take on host Sri Lanka. The Paris Olympic ceremony will take place on Friday, that is today, on the Seine River. Athletes will be paraded on boats equipped with cameras for an up-close view. Olympic medalist PV Sindhu will be the flag bearer of the Indian contingent at the opening ceremony alongside ace table tennis player Achanta Sharath Kamal. It will be the third time the French capital is hosting the Olympic Games after the year 1900 and 1924. India has sent a formidable contingent comprising of 117 athletes, hoping to better its impressive medal haul of 7 from Tokyo, which is the last edition. Around 10,500 athletes will take part in the Olympic Games this time. A total of 329 medal events will be up for grabs, with 35 venues hosting various events across France. The Paris Olympics Games are also going to be the greenest ever games. To know how, take a look at this special report.
The Paris 2024 Olympics Organizing Committee has pledged to host an environmentally friendly games for the world. The organizers have promoted Paris 2024 as the greenest Olympics ever, aiming to halve the carbon emissions of previous Olympics.
What we can see here, and I'm here for more than a week. And wherever you come and go, you see that the lights are on green. The preparations are going very well. The stage is set.
The Paris Olympics organizers have drastically cut back on building new stadiums and venues, and have relied heavily on wood as a building material for new infrastructure, and used low-carbon concrete.
Several of these events are now taking place in temporary stadiums and venues that have been built across the city. Incidentally, some of the games will obviously go outside the city of Paris to other areas. It's also the most sustainable Olympics ever, because they haven't built this mega infrastructure all around, which usually are not utilized afterwards. They've built an Olympics village in the most depressed part of the Paris region, the poorest part of the Paris region, in a way to revitalize it. And they've built an aquatic center. Everything else is either in temporary venues or on renovated old structures. And of course, the farthest venue is several time zones away in the Pacific, in the Tahiti.
Let's understand how Paris is going greener to make it the most eco-friendly games. 95% of all Olympic infrastructure is being fully reused. Temporary stadiums have been built near famous landmarks to make use of spectacular setting. Only one permanent venue has been built, the Aquatic Center. The Aquatic Center is built largely from carbon-storing timber, covered in solar panels, an advanced water recycling system. The athletes' village will be repurposed afterwards as social housing. Over 60% of meal options will be vegetarian, helping to lower the carbon footprint. The Olympic venues will be powered exclusively by renewable energy. 90% of the products used for Paris 2024 come from recycled materials or will be reused later.
The 2024 Paris Olympics, with its groundbreaking sustainability initiative, will likely leave a lasting impact on the global environment. By setting new standards for eco-friendly practices, the Games are expected to inspire future host cities and international events to prioritize sustainability. Ultimately, the Paris Games could act as a powerful catalyst for environmental action, fostering a global shift towards more sustainable and resilient future. With camera person Senthil, Narayan Singh, DD India, Paris.
And now I am joined by DD India correspondent from France, Narayan Singh. Narayan, a very good afternoon to you from India. When we talk about the opening ceremony, how the entire Olympic Games is set to become even greener. But what about the Olympic ceremony? How are the preparations going on for that?
Good afternoon, Deepika. If we talk about this Olympic ceremony, it will be one of its own kind, considering the fact that it has many first this time in the opening ceremony. First time an opening ceremony of the Olympic Games will not take place inside the stadium. And in the past, it was a tradition for the Olympics opening ceremony to take place in the stadium. But now the second thing is that first time an opening ceremony will take place on the river bank here, the Seine River, which flows through the heart of the Paris city. And apart from that, the athletes parade will take place on the boats. The athlete will parade on the boats, and the boats will be equipped with the cameras so that the fans all across the world can see their favorite athletes. And also, the most important thing is that this time several spectators can see this opening ceremony. Around 3 lakh people will gather around the Seine River and near the Eiffel Tower to witness this mega event. And also it's going to be a athlete-centric opening ceremony, it will start with the parade of the athlete and it will end near the Eiffel Tower. So all in all, the opening ceremony will be a new thing for the sports lovers all across the world.
All right, thank you so much, Narayan, for joining us. We'll keep our eyes on the opening ceremony. That was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to my colleague, Mark Lynn.
Thanks a lot, Deepika. And we got some news that's coming in. The former US President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle Obama, they have both endorsed Kamala Harris's bid for president of the United States on the Democratic Party's ticket. In a phone call, Obama told Harris, and I quote, "We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything that we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office." While the former First Lady said that she was proud of Harris and this is going to be historic, is what she said. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn and with me is Deepika. Thank you very much for being with us here on DD India News Hour. Namaskar.